Barbie blew up the box office in the greatest successful bait and switch I've seen in I don't know how long. I couldn't believe the numbers. I had to see it for myself because I mean I was with everybody else where I thought, well, this is basically being billed as Enchanted, right? Barbie Enchanted doll becomes human, goes into the human world, fish out of water story, can learn, to appreciate, Ken more, and I don't know, just, and then you heard some of the feminist sort of like tropes and things, kind of like before, and you're like, well, and then you hear some comments, and you're like, I don't know, and then it lands, and I don't think Greta Gerwig and the Hollywood elites that love Barbie and think all of this sort of like neo feminist, hyper woman self awareness is what they think it is. I don't think half these words mean what you think they mean because the the, the film doesn't prop women up as a good thing. Like you do realize that maybe they don't realize. So the premise of the story is that Barbie is created an imaginary world called Barbie Land. The Barbie doll is created, and the girls in the real world play with Barbie dolls. So they destroy the baby dolls because they don't want to be mothers, right? It's this 2001 sort of homage slash ripoff. And in Barbie Land, there's a reflection of the real world and the child that played with the Barbie or whatever, which is strange because there's only one weird destroyed Barbie doll. All the other Barbies are all intact, allegedly. But in Barbie Land, Barbies control everything, right? The Barbies are everything. So it's all the Barbie spinoffs you would imagine. Barbie, President Barbie and Dr. Barbie and Adventure Barbie, all the different things you can think of, right? And this is riddled with political and culture war references. I mean, even to the point where I'm pretty sure it was a Citizen United reference with the Supreme Court about corporations not being people. I was like, who is this movie for? Is this for the women, the moms, the kids? How old are the kids? Like, who is this for when you're making Citizen United references? Anyway, um, it is also very inappropriate at times. And again, this is very early in the movie. It was in the trailer. This was my wife. She was totally cringed out at this. I think it was shown, maybe it was shown before Sound of Freedom. Anyway, it was shown before a movie that we saw. And it's the beach off, almost like uh gay reference gag, I'll beat you off kind of thing. And it was just like it kept going and going and going. Don't you get it? And you're like, oh my gosh. Oh, so Barbie, very similar to what we see with Enchanted and other stories, is starting to feel. She's starting to get feelings. She gets flat feet, which is supposed to be the gag. She starts to wonder if she could die, and it's supposed to be a manifestation of the person playing with the Barbie. And the first solution is go to Weird Barbie. Now, Weird Barbie is basically gay Barbie because you got Birkenstock references. Um, it's this ugly joke reference. Um, and it's Kate McKinnon, and the off-putting elements of Kate McKinnon are manifested in this show. I couldn't stand any of those scenes. It was absolutely awful. Anyway, she has the secret. The secret to the portal to the real world is just riding in a multitude of Barbie vehicles. You take the Corvette so far, then you get into the Barbie boat, and then do the Barbie, and then in the real world, right? There's even a comment about like, what does it represent? And it's like, oh, don't think about it, whatever. And they have so many chances to do things that could make this story work. But once they're in the real world, and by the way, Ken wants to go. She's not into it. She's so rude to Ken. She treats Ken worse than a purse puppy. She treats Ken like a second class citizen. You'll slow me down. She belittles Ken And then when they're in the real world, she's not in the real world. She's in this fictionalized world that Greta Gerwig and the other creators, because it's Greta Gerwig's boyfriend, right? Is that who Noah? It's Noah Baumbach, right? I think they're a couple. He's a director and a writer. I think they are together. Yeah. Yeah, they're together. So they're partners. They don't get married in Hollywood. They're just partners. Um, this fictional world of uber toxic male, the patriarchy, slapping Barbie on the butt. We saw that. The sexist police officers. Um, Ken loves the patriarchy, right? Because all this, he's finding books and all these different elements. It's just all this, all the men at Mattel, because the evil corporation Mattel, right? It's run by all men, even though in real life it's like half and half. There's actually there are no black people, by the way. There was just one Asian dude. All the rest of them are white people. Will Ferrell this is one of those, how sometimes Will Ferrell is funny, and then sometimes Will Ferrell is okay, and then there's like bad Will Ferrell, and it's over there with bad Will Ferrell. It's sort of like um a bad George Bush version of Will Ferrell, where like it's just a bad one, right? Um, then you get subplot within the subplots in the real world, because it's not a little girl. Because Barbie thinks she can just find the little girl that's playing with her, making her think about death, making her think about all these trend, heavy things. In reality, it's a mom and a daughter, but it's really the mom thinking all these kinds of things, right? And Mattel, all they want to do is get Barbie back into Barbie Land. That's all they care about, right? And Ken just wants to understand what this patriarchy thing is, and then he's going to head back to Barbie Land and tell all the other Kens about it, and they're going to take over Barbie Land. But there's all this time that's wasted with Barbie get back in the box. Rhea Perlman is like this oracle scene where she's Ruth, the original creator, but we don't really know that until later. You have all these weird things, and then America. I don't even know this character's name. Gloria, I think it's her name. She's the mom. It's America Ferrera, and she's the one that, because she's I don't know, man. The daughter says things like, women hate women, men hate women. It's the only thing we can agree on. And I'm like, what world do you live in where you think men hate women and women hate women? Like, that's what you think? Is that the world you live in? See, is this a commentary on you, Hollywood, or us as a society? Because I don't think these words mean what you think they mean. Patriarchy is not what you think it is. You're a female director directing women, a movie that made $155 million for women. Like, is that a patriarchy? Anyway, when Barbie goes back, now it's turned into a mess, according to the Barbies. Because it's like, Top Gun volleyball and beers, and all the Barbies are servants and all this other nonsense. And the obsession with horse. It's all this trivial and dumb stuff it's not even funny. Nothing makes any sense whatsoever. But what's weird is the story just sort of like unravels into like a bunch of messes. Like it starts as a mess, and then it quickly goes into like, here's what we're going to do, and then it's almost like just everything just gets away from them, because like Mattel at this point should be happy because Barbie and Ken are back in Barbie Land. They should be okay, but they're not. They go there, and when Will Ferrell's character is asked about it, he's like, well, he basically is like, well, I'm also a feminist. I don't know, whatever, just because. And Ken is the villain, but he's not like any different than he was before. He's nearly on tears the entire time, right? And there's all these comments and references to being fascist, because the Kens are going to hold a vote to have their own constitution. So I didn't know Barbie Land was run by a constitution, but evidently it is. I thought there was a million more Barbies than there were Kens. That was what was implied earlier, but now there's a vote and they're outnumbered, but they're not outnumbered anyway. So we waste a whole bunch of time And by the way, there's this weird scene of throwing out outfits when Ken is kicking Barbie out or something. So much wasted time in this movie. This movie is like 2 hours long and it should have been 90 minutes. And that's presumably the best I could do with this horrible story that Greta Gerwig turned in. Um, what's really weird is that it all sort of comes down to this whole that brainwashing and unbrainwashing other women. So if we can just teach the other Barbies that men are bad, if you can see them as being bad, if you can see these men at the Kens that they're supposed to be, this is supposed to be a reflection of the ladies, right? It's supposed to be a good, positive thing, right? And it had this America Ferrera woman has these speeches about being thin but not too thin and saying what you want and not hurting people's feelings. And it's basically it is like it's a person that doesn't know how to deal with their own emotions, and that sometimes emotions pop up, but you don't always act on them. But that's not how it's expressed. It's expressed in this whiny, witchy, whine mommy sort of way. Rant, 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 rant. And if we tell the other Barbies about it, then they'll get it and they'll wake up and see the system is rigged against them. And the Ken should be oppressed and all the women should be back in charge again. So the moral of the Barbie thing, if the Barbies can just run a they want to pretend that it's a democracy, but it's not. It's an authoritarian dictator run by Barbies for Barbies, oppressing the Kens, and done so that they can kind of behave however they want. It is, and nothing here, nothing in Barbie Land can change out of that until the real world change. So it's implying that in the real world, it's the exact same way, but men are in charge. That's the commentary of this movie. So the movie is not about a doll. The movie is not even about feminism. Because if it was about feminism, it would be about Barbie appreciating Ken, Ken appreciating Barbie, them both looking at both systems and going, reality can be better. And instead, it turns into this man hating, domineering women. And I can't believe they used an MFer vote. They had an MFer quote by President Barbie during one line. And they're making references to like Godfather and stuff. Like, who's watching Godfather in this movie? Like, I just, I don't know. Everything about this was just terrible. And then it got worse because there's literally like a 6-minute fight musical sequence with tennis rackets, volleyballs, and beach offs, because we have to keep making beach off references, to distract the men so they can put the matriarchy back in place. So imagine how bad all this seems, and then add a musical number and glitter. And I'm like, what on earth is happening? It's all just terrible. And they part ways on Barbie telling Ken that you're not just Ken, you're just Ken. Like, you're not Barbie and Ken, you're just Ken. Like, the idea is that they just don't need to be together anymore. Like, Barbie doesn't need to be there. And then it ends, and I kid you not, I can't make this up. When Barbie goes to the real world, she's not going to make a statement. She's not going to make going to a place or where she can be to put a big stamp on things. Barbie goes quite literally to the gynecologist. Yeah. So I thought women didn't want to be sex objects, and yet the moral of the story is Barbie wants to go to the real world at the end so she can go and have her vagina checked out. I don't know if some of these things mean what you think they mean. It's just me. Um, yeah, this show is a mess. Um, it is the jokes and the reference. You know what it is? It's almost like She-Hulk all over again. They write this stuff for themselves, not for an audience. It's written for their circle of these whiny, nasty, white women who aren't happy and are very unhappy, and they air their grievances in this fake reality that only exists in their head and their little bubble that they have created, because they see anyone who doesn't see things the way they see it as this extreme caricature. No nuance, no sort of caveats, because that's an easy thing to do. That requires the least amount of brain energy and nuance. You couldn't think, um, you don't want to actually try to understand someone who doesn't agree with you. So it's all this kind of stuff. So the story is not about female empowerment. It's just about female power. It's not about equality. It's about suppression of men. It's not about um, Barbie or anyone else treating anyone like an equal or better or being treated that way. It's about belittling the Kens because it's better for the Kens that way. Because they're portrayed as the worst possible men. I don't even know. I mean, I guess there's a character called Alan. There's just one Alan. And I guess he represents the gay guy. I guess. I don't know. I couldn't handle this. It's just it just this movie is such a dog pile of crap. I venture to say that I would rather sit through Cocaine Bear again. I don't know if I'll sit through Cocaine Shark again. A movie that is both void of cocaine and real sharks. Pretty close. Yeah, I think I could sit through Cocaine Shark again before I sit through Barbie again. That's how bad Barbie was. Anyway, yeah, box office, blockbuster. Um, I will say they will venture even when this bombs the rest of the way, because no one's going to go back to see this movie. It's awful, right? So if it was 150 million or what, it didn't make 150. It made a ton of money. The fall off is going to be incredible. But that won't be the lesson learned. The lesson learned will probably be more feminism, more Ghostbusters 2016, more Kate McKinnon, more MF jokes for a little girl movie and lectures about patriarchy. But unbearably bad. Unbearably bad. The most successful bait and switch I've ever seen, though. Most successful bait and switch I've ever seen. So, anyway, that's my take. Especially if you like this movie, explain to me why. I love to hear it. Love to hear it. Now I can go watch everybody else's reviews, though. I'm eager to see what's happened there, especially people that I respect. Oh, I can't wait to hear what they had to say. Anyway, take care, everybody. Talk to you soon. I'm Bob.